this one comes to us also from the Friendly Atheist blog at patheos.com, where if anybody's a fan of the show and they watch it on YouTube, I did a solo clip last week about how the American Atheists sent letters to a lot of the schools in the area around the Ark encounter, where they said, hey, just so you know, if Ken Ham tries to get you to bring your kids to the school for like a school field trip, you can't actually do that because it's against the First Amendment. That's a religious institution, not a business. So, Johnny Pike was the one that wrote that stuff. He was from American Atheist State Director in Kentucky. He sent a letter to several public school districts in certain counties warning them against common church-state violations. So, in the letter, he said, Pike said schools should keep school events secular, which includes field trips. I'm reading all I hear. So additionally, he wrote that staff and employees shouldn't lead or direct religious activities such as prayer, and said that students do not have to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, citing Supreme Court decisions.
They do not. And you can't remove them from class for doing so, teachers.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know teachers listening to the show regularly are not doing such a thing. Thank you, good teachers.
Yep. And the reason we're bringing this one up beyond the one that I did last week is that now we have Ken Ham's version of things. So we had points, counterpoint, but the good news is that this counterpoint is going to get us thousands of views on YouTube. So
that is all right, let's do this.
Yeah. Okay. How good is this one? Okay.
So every administrator should have read that letter and thought, that all makes perfect sense.
Of course.
But of course, Mr. Ham has taken it as a personal attack and criticized it on Twitter multiple times. But I didn't get to see that because he's banned Utah Outcasts from following him on Twitter.
Oh, no.
Someone's getting pissed off. So he recently responded with more elaborate defense of why the letter was misguided, revealing his own misunderstanding of the law, because that's really what it is. I mean, he's either ignorant or he's devious. So that you get the two there. So he referred to he's devious.
Probably both, really.
He referred to the letter as, quote, nothing more than a bullying tactic to try and keep children from being exposed to the teaching at these attractions. Teaching. Fuck you and your teaching, Ken Ham.
You're not teaching anything.
They're not going to learn anything when they go there. You're just going to make their brains softer, asshole. God. Ken Ham also quoted his religious freedom attorneys who need a second opinion on their legal degrees. It says here in the quote that if public schools were bringing students to the Ark and Museum declaring this interpretation is the only real truth that you should personally accept, then that would be a violation of the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution. You're not a constitutional scholar, Mr. Ham. Do not pretend to know what the fuck you're talking about.
And that's not how it works.
No. Okay, so it says here, if classes are coming to the Museum or Ark in an objective fashion, however, to show students world-class exhibits and one group's interpretation of the origin of man and Earth history, then the field trip is just fine as an exceptional and voluntary educational and cultural experience.
No, that's only going to fly in one specific scenario in which a teacher would bring a class to any of those exhibits and go, this is not science. Here's an example of not science.
It's not appropriate for children. I'm sorry.
No, it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not.
Now, I went to the Dead Sea Scrolls as an adult, and the exhibits were definitely directed as to adults. They were not adult. Like, just adults.
I was gonna say, man, I missed that. That was
they were really nuanced, and they presented them as they are, not with any commentary therein.
Now, really quick, since you brought it up, you brought up the specter of this. Adult attractions at the Ark experience, what would you have? They've already built the one I'd use, and that's the poop chute, and so...
that's your adult? That's your adult?
Well, no, but it's just, it's all anal all the time,
I want to see the orgy. I want to see the orgy that's definitely happening on that boat.
You want to see some interspecies play?
If you're trapped on the boat for 40 days, 40 nights.
Hey, don't judge me on my interspecies shit.
Yeah, there's
a lot of fantasies about werewolves. Don't you judge me.
There's a lot of fucking bestiality going on the Ark. Nobody ever talks about that. You heard it here first, people. There's the next T-shirt. Lots of bestiality on the Ark.
Look,
X.
there were dinosaurs on the Ark, and really, who wouldn't want to say they fucked a dinosaur?
To death, because they didn't make it off the Ark.
Because they didn't make it off the Ark. Yeah.
Pussies like pillows, let me tell you right now.
That's the explanation. That's the explanation right there. We don't have dinosaurs today because they fucked them all to death and threw them over the side.
I would rather die than be on that Ark. Are you kidding me? I have to fucking know
Yeah.
He's 110 by the time we get off that.
Okay, so we open up an attraction right next door to the Ark Experience where we talk about them fucking dinosaurs to death. Then we have school kids come to it because we're just teaching them our interpretation of what the things that happened.
I quit the show.
I'm just using this as an example. So it also says here that public school officials should neither personally nor diminish the museum's view, but should present it objectively. And him in here says, that's nonsense. You don't go to a Christian ministry under the guise of an educational field trip when virtually every scientific expert would tell you that there's nothing educational about it. And unlike a museum where students are taught how to think, the Creation Museum and Ark Encounter are singularly interested in telling children what to think. There's no debate to be had. No scientists think that the Ark Encounter presents a legitimate explanation of our origins. And while there's always room to educate students on scientific controversies, the theory of evolution isn't one of them. My emphasis on
Objective.
that.
Approach it objectively. Well, kids, this is objectively wrong. This is objectively horrible. This is not how you do anything.
The Ark didn't exist.
Now, we don't do the long form checking out the answers news stuff, so I might have to find this one later on. But it does say that on their post about this topic around the 1917 mark on their latest episode of Answers News, they do, one of the panelists claims, and I quote here, education in and of itself is a Christian thing.
Wait, what?
No, it is not.
No,
I'm sorry. You do.
I'm sorry. Charlemagne was converted later in his life, and he was the first to institute public education as a concept. Charlemagne was a pagan in France, and then he converted later in his life, and he had like 16 wives, I think. That doesn't matter. Charlemagne was a fucking pagan. So,
Yeah,
I love how everybody was sitting around.
Yeah, I call cultural appropriation on this. Fuck you.
Yeah, the Greeks were around a lot longer.
Public education was the thing way before Christianity, and Christians were super down with not educating the public.
Well, let's also speak on the fact that prior to Christianity, you have tens of thousands of years of other types of human learning that were going on this planet before Christianity reared its ugly fucking head in the Middle East.
Well, yeah, like to say that like there was other education, verbal traditions, and like education was a thing. Education was a thing. Just formalized education, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, was not available to the public. And then there was plenty of people who were like, you know what's good for society? An educated public. Like that happened in multiple societies around the world. So
Ken
Ham, quit being so persecuted all the goddamn time. Nobody wants to keep you.
It must be exhausting. It must be exhausting to be constantly outraged and persecuted.
You're asking the people on the left that follow politics every day, clutch pearls all the time.
I'm not clutching pearls.
I'm not clutching pearls.
I'm mad.
I'm throwing fucking spears.
Yep.